Welcome to the Meeting Underground. We thank you for joining us. Before we did today's episode, I had to check and see if there's any laws against nepotism in podcasting. Fortunately, there's not, so our special guest today is Ryan LaFave, artist, songwriter, collaborator, and my son. We appreciate you joining us. We're going to have him for two episodes. We're going to discuss some of the projects he's been in, some of his past, and I'm really looking forward to this. Thank you. So, how old were you when you started to play the guitar?
Let's see, when I started playing myself. Growing up with you around it, it was always kind of like in my vernacular, I guess, as a kid, watching music videos and going to concerts and stuff. But if my dates are right, we moved to Tennessee in '94, I think.
I think that's right.
That would have made me 13. So I guess 14 is probably when I started taking lessons.
Right.
And got my first guitar. A couple of my friends in middle school in Dixon, where I was going to school there, were players, or they were starting out too. So I was a little behind. But when we'd hang out and sleepovers and parties and birthday parties and stuff, there'd always be a couple of them that'd pull out like a Strat or something and play some Jimi Hendrix lick or something. And I was like, well, I want in on that. So where do you guys take lessons? And they pointed me to Mary's Music in Dixon.
Yeah, Mary's Music.
Doc Stone.
Helped a lot of young people start.
Yeah, a lot of my friends that were taking lessons back then are still players.
Yeah.
And a lot of them do it as a gig, like a main source of income. So kind of stuck.
So what I remember about you starting was, I remember that Ryan started playing guitar, and he was playing guitar for like a year, and I'm going, and I would listen to him, and I go, gosh, I've been playing since I was 13, and I was like, he's playing better than I do. It just struck me because he learned so fast, and he's got a good talent to it. So when you started, what were some of the influences, like the early bands, stuff like that, that really kind of got you?
Sure. Kind of going back to the lessons I was taking at Mary's, the way that their curriculum was built was basically identifying the kids' strengths and then building little bands out of them. And they'd have us play like the Ryman or the Opry, I think.
So you actually got to play.
They would book shows, and that was our whatever you call them, like our what do you call it, like a dance recital or something. It would be like a band recital, essentially. I mean, exactly that. Anyway, I was identified as having pretty good dexterity, so I was a chord guy. I wasn't a soloist. They'd it was very clear who could
So they identified you as
who could shred it. And they were like, you can play these chords pretty easily. Yeah. And that was kind of a reflection to a lot of the stuff that I was identifying with at a young age, like Zeppelin and stuff like that, obviously growing up from your influence. But it was those more Europe-based, ballady stuff.
Name a couple bands.
Well, obviously Led Zeppelin. A little later, I really got into Paul Simon and his work.
Oh, so they were the early same influences that were my influences.
Yeah, definitely. You being the first I'd ever heard of it, but then once I started thinking on my own and trying to play these chord charts and stuff like that, it was really those really intricate ballady type progressive song structures that I really identified with. Moving forward, bands like Radiohead were obviously massive influence to me and a lot of people my age.
A couple more.
Let's think.
Moving ahead.
I started getting into a kind of instrumental music as well. Bands like Sigur Rós early on, to me, where it was just really a lot about the chord progressions and
very interesting group.
How they work together and then play the vocals almost like an instrument themselves.
Yeah.
So I really identified with a lot of that orchestral arrangement type songwriting.
So, what do you think it is about music that is so interesting? What is it about music that really strikes you?
Music specifically,
just music itself.
That's it's a good question that I think I've probably asked myself often, because being a musician, you question why am I a musician often because of the struggles in the industry to like basically just get your bread money for so you question that a lot, and kind of where I've fallen is that everyone is into the arts to some degree.
Right.
If you're a builder, you're building a house as an art form.
We did a whole episode on that.
Okay, yeah.
Talking about that very thing.
I think it's just a human...
An artist is actually just the approach and where it comes, how you approach what you do.
Right.
It's not so much, you can be like you said, you could actually be an engineer, a designer, any of those things, and you approach it from the heart as something inspirational,
right?
Then it becomes art. So.
I think music specifically plays to that sense.
Yeah.
I think...
music seems to always... It seems like in this generation, and all the way back to my generation, music always is the one of the arts that really draws people.
Mm-hmm.
I have one thought of it, is that I think music, the power of it that's wonderful is that it has this way of attaching to your life and defining it from there on.
Yeah.
It's like you hear a song and it brings you back to what you were thinking, what you were doing, the circumstances, your emotions about it.
Sure.
I mean, that's one of the powerful things I think about music.
That's a soundtrack.
Yeah, yeah, it becomes the soundtrack to our lives and stuff like that. But
I think
that's one of the reasons it's so powerful. It has an impact on so many people is because it does tend to attach to your life and to what you're going through and defines it or gives perspective to it.
Sure.
Often. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. Anyway.
Well, I think like just sound as well as like the sense of hearing is sort of the first sense that we are become accustomed with when we're born. Is we don't know how to talk, we don't really know how to see, but we hear your mother's voice, and we're immediately listeners from day one. And
that's interesting.
I just feel like
I've never heard anybody exactly put that.
But it kind of have to be part of some sense. All art is part of multiple senses. So
right.
I think visual art is very powerful, but maybe less people identify with it, especially when maybe their eyesight starts to go or whatever. But hearing a song, hearing a voice, having that voice teach you something is really like one of the first lessons that we have to learn.
So in the earliest times, from your early teen years and stuff like that, were you in bands and stuff? Did you and some friends get together, do actual bands that were not Doc Stone's bands?
Plenty of bedroom jam sessions and stuff like that.
Never take it as far as doing performances and playing?
Not really. I think the first thing that I ever did I was not taking it seriously, but it was the first like gig I ever booked. Was probably just doing solo stuff as Town Whale.
You and I did you did an opening for us at the Love. What is the name of the place?
It was called Ace of
the Pub of Love.
The Pub of
Love.
And the logo was
it's gone now.
Like a heart, yeah.
But it was an interesting thing. We had a lot of people showed up. So it was kind of fun. As we go forward, though, the last some of the episodes in the past year, we've brought up a band called Umbrella Tree. Outside of the region and area here, you may not know who that is, but they really made an impact back around 2006 to 2012, something like that. So tell me your involvement. Tell me your involvement with Umbrella Tree. Tell me a little bit about who Umbrella Tree was.
Okay.
What they were like.
I'll make it kind of quick because it does span.
Yeah, and I got some specific questions on that.
Sure. When I was dating Jill, first started dating Jill, now my wife, I got a call from my buddy Justin, who lived in Dixon still, and I was living in Nashville. And he said, hey, I'm going to go see Andrew Bird at Grimey's in-store. And I was like, wow, that's great. I was really getting into Andrew Bird at that point. And the in-stores there are great because it's so intimate. So I was like, yes, I'll definitely be there. I want to introduce Jill to Andrew Bird, too, and yourself, you know. And when we showed up, he was sitting on the front steps, and he was sitting there with his coworker friend. His coworker friend was Zach Gresham of Umbrella Tree.
A name that's come up a few times in the last few episodes.
People know him.
He's a good guy, and he's really talented.
Yeah. So that was we met him, went in, saw the show, and then they said, hey, are you going to go see Andrew Bird tonight at 3rd and Lindsley? And we said, are there tickets available? He said, yes. And we said, yeah. So we all four went. During the show, at some point, I think Jill stepped outside, and I realized that Zach wasn't there either, and they were out there talking about music. I found out that Zach had a vision for a band, had it written all out, like on a vision board type thing, knew exactly what he was looking for, and one of those things was just a talented female singer who can play keys, which is exactly what Jill is. So they got to know each other. They talked. He gave her like a demo or something like that, and he had like ads out in the scene. Like he was going full tilt, getting his vision to play out and putting a lot of work. He's very industrious. Anyway, fast forward, they become a band, and they released What Kind of Books You Read in 2006.
Yep.
I think it was.
What Kind of Books Do You Read in 2006?
2006.
And then they did The Church and the Hospital in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
The Letter C in 2009. And the last one is The Memory of a Once Great Man
mm-hmm.
in 2011. That was their last one.
Yes.
4 great records.
Yeah.
Critically acclaimed in this area. I mean, I was going through some of the Nashville reviews of you guys. They really got good reviews. But you were involved all the way through.
Yeah.
You were like a part of the band, except not on stage with them.
Sure.
Pretty much.
Yeah, early on I was just kind of like handling merch, handling a lot of like just the administrative stuff that they either didn't have time to do or that I was just eager to help with. Because they were so great, I was wanting to be supportive. They were my new friends, and it was a cool little scene. So early on I did a lot of that. As we grew as a band, like the albums and how they were written and stuff changed too. They ended up opening up the writing load, like the sharing the writing process with everybody involved. So Derek became a third of the writing team.
Right.
And
now let me go. This is a write-up about them. Listening to Umbrella Tree is a commitment with no easy outs. That's partially because singer-guitarist Zachary Grisham, singer-keyboardist Jillian Lee, and drummer Derek Pearson completely give themselves over to their live performances. Gresham acting the part of the wiry animated ringmaster, Lee the mysterious girlish girl, and Pearson the focused brute with a precise touch. They did get a lot of good reviews for this. I'll add to that. This was a description, because I was going to ask you, how do you describe it? I mean, how would you describe it? To me, it was like a folk art, avant-garde. This is what one writer said: a bohemian bookworm pop outfit.
He's not wrong.
When I first heard them, and it was like I heard like strains of Frank Zappa and the kind of approach to music that Zappa did, where it was humorous, very intellectual, very smart, and melodic, and great songwriting. It was just really, really good. And anyway, do you have any description? Because the band, you guys, even though you weren't on stage yet with them, they really were one of the best bands in the area. Everybody had high hopes for them. And then it came around to The Memory of a Once Great Man, 2011, and this is what they said. That was when you began. They released. How do you say the song? And is that it?
No.
That was the name of it. It was always funny when you see it in writing. Yeah. But that video release and song release introduced you as the band bass player, as far as what was written in the scene.
Yes, that was kind of when on whatever social medias were around at that time, and like just the different news outlets was kind of like, hey, we're a 4-piece now. We're gonna approach this live sets a little different. Yeah. Which was cool. It was that band was just always about evolving.
Right.
Never repeating over and doing the same thing twice, and that's why all the albums stand on their own.
Yeah. Great albums. You can still find them, right?
Oh yeah.
Where would you say on just all the digital downloads, like?
Definitely, yeah, they're definitely on Spotify.
Spotify.
Most of the
iTunes.
stuff is even on YouTube. Like the last album, the Church in the Hospital has a video for every song, so that's all up there.
Yeah, so that's the second one. If you get a chance, go look up Umbrella Tree the band, because you'll get other things if you don't. But look at some of their videos. In fact, we're going to show you one of the videos. Tell me which video.
Sure.
Introduce the video to them.
Sure.
Before we get to that, though, we're going to go back. I'm going to have Ryan back next week, episode 13. He's going to do a second part. He's going to talk about some of the other projects he's involved with. Up to right now, he's involved with a group called the Mute Group. Some of the same fellas. Zach's in that band, and you're in that band. And, really good, and they're just launching their projects. And so we're going to talk more about that next week. But we appreciate you joining us. Thank you for your support. If you're watching this vidcast on YouTube, in the notes you can click on the link to the podcast, and if you're at the podcast, you can click on the notes to a link to the vidcast. Whether you're listening to us, whether you're watching us, we really appreciate you joining us. Thank you for your support. Ask you to subscribe to those places, download stuff. You're what makes it happen, and we just really appreciate it. So I'm going to let Ryan close out by introducing the video that we're going to show you, Umbrella Tree video.
Sure. So the one I prepped it wasn't Na 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 Na.
Yeah, that's okay.
But it was another one that I was in. I think it was the first one I actually filmed.
Yeah.
It was called Uncle William, and it was. I guess I played Uncle William. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm kind of like a crazy madman in a workshop. Derek's handiwork on the video front. He's a fantastic video editor.
We're going to talk a lot more about Derek and the others next week. So here we go. This is it.
Uncle William.
Uncle William.